All right, so in a problem like this one, what you're going to be doing is you will add 5 to both sides. You're going to add 5 to both sides, and that'll give you x by itself, which is going to be equal to 19. X should be equal to 19. Now, I know that some people like to rewrite it. If you decided to go ahead and rewrite this as x minus 5 is equal to 14, then that would make it easier for you to see, oh, I have to go ahead and add 5 to both sides. Because addition can be rewritten, right? 7 plus 2 is the same thing as 2 plus 7. So addition is able to be what we call commutative property. You can reverse the order and it's still the same process, it's still the same value, okay? But not with subtraction and not with division. Only addition and multiplication that you multiply or add by, okay? All right, let's take a look at problem number 2. For problem number 2, remember this was the one that a lot of people had an issue with yesterday, that 3/5 is actually a coefficient. Right now, what we're seeing is a multiplication problem. So what we need to do is we need to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by the fraction. We're going to divide both sides by that 3/5. And doing so, it's going to give us x equaling 15. When you do 9 divided by 3/5, you're going to get x is equal to 15. So please be mindful of that. So many of you are still seeing that fraction and you're thinking, oh, it's a fraction, so I need to multiply because the inverse operation to a fraction is multiplication. It's only multiplication if x is inside the fraction. If x is on top of the fraction and you have a number on the bottom of the fraction, then that means x is being divided by a number. Okay, fraction bar is just another way of being able to write a division sign. Vincent, go pick it up. Okay, for problem number 3, you have x plus -2 is equal to -19. So instead of adding a -2, we're going to subtract a -2. That's going to give us x is equal to a -17. So you should have gotten x is equal to -17 for problem number 3. Number 4, this is a division problem. This is what I mean by it, where it's division, so the opposite is multiplication. Obviously, number 2 was a fraction as well, but that was a coefficient. So the opposite of that would be division. Here, the opposite is going to be multiplication because you have x on top. This is basically another way of just saying x is being divided by 2.4, and that's going to equal -1.3. That's just another way of writing it. So instead of dividing by 2.4, we would go ahead and multiply by 2.4 onto both sides. You would just multiply by 2.4 onto both sides. So -1.3 times 2.4, it's going to come out to a -3.12. So you should have gotten x is equal to -3.12 as your answer. Okay. Now, during Pride Time this week, we discussed those angle relationships. We watched that little quick video about complementary, supplementary, and vertical relationships. So I've reposted those onto the notes here. Remember, complementary states that you have a sum of 2 or more angles that's going to equal 90 degrees. I had one student one year who said that the way that he thought about a 90-degree angle. Does anybody know what the name is of a 90-degree angle? Rohan, do you know what it's called? No? Okay, Ezra? It's not an acute angle. Tayana? It's a right angle. All right? A 90-degree angle is called a right angle. So the way that he remembered it is he said, if someone tells me that I'm always right, they're giving me a compliment. If someone tells me a compliment. So that's how he was able to remember that complementary angles are going to add up to a right angle, a 90-degree angle. So that's something that you could, if you want to write that down off to the side, you can. Also, another thing that we've come up with in the past is if you look at the words complementary and supplementary, if you were to look them up alphabetically, which one would come first alphabetically? The complementary. Complementary would come first before supplementary if you're looking at it in alphabetical order. And then the same thing for numerical. People to remember that complementary and 90 go together and supplementary and 180 go together. Okay, so those are two little tactics to help you remember. Now, for the complementary, it's the sum of two or more angles that's going to equal a 90-degree angle. Okay, but it has to be two angles or more. Has to be two angles or more. And remember, sum means that it's going to add up to 90 degrees. So you're forming this 90-degree angle based off of two angles that you have created here. So let's say that this is angle X and this is angle Y. Then that means if I take angle X and I add it with angle Y, it's going to be equal to 90 degrees. If I take the measurement of angle X and I take the measurement of angle Y, it's going to be set equal to 90 degrees. Now, let's just pretend that I know the measurement of angle Y. Let's say that I know that Y is equal to 47 degrees. I know that the measurement of angle Y is equal to 47 degrees. I can write an equation. I can write a one-step equation. Jada, turn around. I can write a one-step equation using this information. I already know that if I say X plus Y is equal to 90, and I now know what the measurement of Y is, then I can say that X plus 47 is equal to 90. That's an equation. I've used my knowledge on angle relationships, on complementary angles. I've used my knowledge on how to set up an equation. And now I can use that knowledge to solve the equation so that I can figure out what angle X is equal to. So in order to solve it, what do I need to do? What inverse operation am I going to do, Angel? Subtraction. And what am I going to subtract from both sides? 47. So remember yesterday in our Nearpod, that's one of the things that we constantly were writing down. You're going to subtract 47 on both sides, or you're going to add 52 on both sides, or you're going to multiply by 2 on both sides. It's a thing that has to happen on both sides of the equal sign. Remember, the equal sign is what splits it up. The equal sign is what splits it up. Okay, so if we subtract 47 from both sides, what would the measurement of angle X equal? All right, let's do the same thing for here. Let's say that we've got the supplementary angles. Now, forms kind of a straight line here, doesn't it? Supplementary forms that straight line angle. So supplementary is going to be the sum that adds up to 180 degrees. The sum is going to add up to 180 degrees. So let's say that this angle is angle A and this angle is angle B. When I say that they add up to 180 degrees, that means that angle A So what if I told you that angle A was 140 degrees? I'm going to say angle A is equal to 140 degrees. What does my equation look like now? Take a moment to think what I just did up here with complementary and what I'm showing you here for the supplementary. What is my angle, or sorry, not my angle, my equation going to look like? I need to see more than just Angel's hand. Esther, what do you think, honey? Well, do we know what angle A equals? So what can I replace angle A with? 140 plus, do I know the measurement of angle B? No. So what should I put here? Not yet. Not yet. I don't want to put 40. I'm just going to put the variable, right? B. I'm just going to put B, and that's going to be equal to 180. Some of the times, guys, they're not even going to ask you to solve. They're just going to ask you to set the equation up. That's going to be some of the cases where you don't have to solve for it, but you have to set it up. Know what the equation looks like, okay? So now Esther knew what to do to solve. She knows that, oh, I'm just going to have to subtract 180 and 140. That's easy stuff right now because it's just a single step. Soon we're going to be doing two-step equations or multi-step equations. And you'll need to know how to set the equation up first so that you can then solve it. But yes, in this case, angle B is going to be equal to 40 degrees. Angle B will equal 40. Angle B is going to be set equal to 40. Okay, let's do the last one real quick on the next page, the vertical angles. Remember, vertical angles were congruent. What does congruent mean again, guys? What did congruent mean? Equal. Congruent meant that it was equal. And congruent angles or vertical angles kind of form an X. They kind of form this X shape. It's two intersecting lines. It's a set of lines that are going to intersect, and they're kind of forming this X shape here. That's what our vertical angles are. They are intersecting lines, and they do not share a common ray or a common wall, if we'll have it that way. Okay? They don't share a common wall, and most importantly, they are congruent or equal in their size. That's the most important thing. So if I say that this angle is angle W, and this angle is angle R, then when I'm setting this up, I am going to say, hey, angle W is equal to angle R. The lines that form angle W are not the same lines that form angle R. Okay, they connect at a center point, but then they no longer form that angle anymore. Once they stop at that point, angle W is just these two lines right here, and then angle R is just these two lines. So that's what I mean by they don't share a common ray. They don't share a common wall. Okay, so W and R is equal to 50, then that means W is equal to 50. Okay, so angle W would be equal to 50. Now I could say the same thing for up here. Let's say that this was angle E and this is angle F. And maybe angle E, we'll say it's E minus 10. This angle is E minus 10. And this is angle F. And I know that F is equal to 130. Then when I create this equation, I know that angle E minus 10 is going to be equal to angle F. And angle E minus 10 is equal to 130. So how do I solve for the measurement of E? By adding 10. If I were to add 10 to both sides, then that means the value of E would be equal to 140. Does that mean that angle is 140? No, that angle is 140 minus 10, which is 130. Okay, that's what makes them congruent. These are two separate little things here. So when we come back from lunch, what we're going to do is we're going to practice identifying the relationship, writing the equation, and then solving the equation. Okay, let's line up for lunch. I'll call you row by row. Continue. Well, here, we're going to identify what the angle measurement, or sorry, the angle relationship is so that we can solve for the missing angles. So you identify the relationship. We're going to write down what the equation would look like, and then we're going to solve for the value of x. So for this first one, problem number 1, is this a complementary, supplementary, or vertical angle relationship? Complementary. Okay, this is a complementary angle relationship. So underneath here, you're going to write down that it's complementary. Remember, complementary is going to form that L-shaped, that 90-degree angle. Okay, that's what's being formed here that we see. It's a complementary relationship. So we have a value of x and we have a value of 73. What is the equation going to be set up as? Angel? Good. X plus 73 is going to be equal to 90 degrees. That's what the equation is going to look like. To show the work. Remember, I say when you show your work, you got to show what are you adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing by on both sides. So what inverse operation are we going to do to both sides here, guys? Say it louder. Subtract. And what are we subtracting from both sides? 73. When we do 90 minus the 73, that's going to give us the value of 17. So x is going to be equal to 17. Take a look at problem number 2. Problem number 2, based off of the diagram that we have here, what relationship do we see? Supplementary, right? It creates that straight line. That straight line is going to create a supplementary relationship. Okay, Abdullah, what will the equation look like? Good. X plus 118 degrees is going to equal 180. Remember, supplementary means that it is equal to 180. So when you combine these, take the very first angle of x, add it with the second angle, which is 118, and it's going to be set equal to 180 degrees. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and solve. Azariah, what do I have to do to solve this equation? If I have x plus 118 equals 180, what am I going to do to both sides? So I'm going to add 118 to 180. Remember, opposite operations, inverse operations, right? So for solving, we have to do the opposite. What's the opposite operation? Subtract. So we're going to subtract 118 from both sides. We're going to subtract 118 on both sides. So that's going to get the x value by itself, right? These 118s are going to cross off. And 180 minus 118 is going to come out to 62. So x is going to be equal to 62. You go to the second page. I'm not moving it. I'm just going to move it up a little bit. Going off to the second page. Okay, what relationship are we seeing here on the second page? Vertical. Okay, this relationship is a set of vertical angles. Remember, they've got two intersecting lines that are created here. And I'm going to go ahead and just write down that this is we'll say this is x plus 9. Right here, let's go ahead and write that this is x plus 9. And you guys can see this degree is 52, right? So we already know that this is a vertical relationship. So what will the equation look like then? What's the equation going to look like for this one? Let's call on Kyle. Kyle, what's the equation going to look like for this relationship here?
X plus 9 plus 52 equals
Remember, they're vertical, and vertical meant that they were equal to each other. So x plus 9 is one of the angles, and it's equal to the 52. So guys, it's going to be an equation that's just set equal to 52. Vertical angles do not always equal 90 degrees or 180. They are equal to each other. So whatever their measurement is, that's what they're equal to. Okay, so this is the one that I think people get mixed up on a lot, is because they don't realize, oh, I have to set them equal to each other. So x plus 9 is equal to 52. Now we're going to go ahead and solve for x. Okay, so if I've got x plus 9 is equal to 52, what do I need to do to both sides, Jada? Very good. So we're going to subtract 9 from both sides, and that's going to get x isolated and by itself. That's going to give you x equaling 43. Okay, remember, that does not mean that that measurement is 43 degrees. This angle is 43 plus 9, which happens to be 52. Okay, I want you guys to try the rest of them on your own. Identify the relationship, write out the equation, and then show your work for what it is equal to. Make sure you're paying close attention. For problem number 4, Ezra, number 4 is it? What's the relationship, angle relationship for number 4? Supplementary. The angle relationship for problem number 4 is supplementary. Let's see here. Like for problem number 4, as soon as the computer stops freezing here. Okay, the angle equation. What's the equation going to be? X plus 130 is equal to 180. This would just stop freezing for a second. That'd be great. $130 is equal to 180. When we solve for it, what is x going to be equal to, Ian? 50. Once you solve it, all you're going to do is subtract 130 from both sides, and you'll get that x is going to be equal to 50. For problem number 5, relationship for number 5, Azariah. Complementary. Very good. What is the equation going to be set up to look like, William, for number 5? What is the Very good. X plus 62 is equal to 90. That's going to be the equation. And when we solve the equation, Jolie, what is it going to equal? 28. Very good. When you solve it, you're just going to subtract 62 from both sides, and you'll get that x is equal to 28. Back up in a moment, but we're going to move on because I want to get done with the other stuff. Okay, for problem number 6, George, what is the angle relationship for problem number 6? We'll just look at it and tell me what the angle relationship is. Equation, Daniel, what is the equation going to be for problem number 6? Very good. X plus 37 is going to be equal to 90. When we solve x plus 37 is equal to 90, Jeremy, what did you get for number 6 when you solved for x? 53. Very good. All you're going to do is subtract 37 from both sides, and you'll get x is equal to 53. Vincent, what is and vertical angles mean that they are equal. So Yara, can you tell us what is the equation going to be for that set of vertical angles? 100 is going to be the equation. You set them equal to each other, not equal to 90, not equal to 180. They're equal to each other. And Kyle, what is the value of m? 80. When you solve, you're just going to subtract 20 from both sides, and you get m is equal to 80. What you have on Google Classroom